What's going on, people? It's Mr. back again. And yes, I'm jolly, I'm happy. Fantastic win today for Nottingham Forest against Preston. And at last, we beat a team that we have never, I don't know when the last time we beat Preston. I think it was Billy Davis' era. But I'm happy, I'm jolly. Fantastic 3 points against a team that's, I think around the playoffs as well. But like I said, I'm jolly as well. People comment below, how did you feel about today's performance? Before I do some, I've got 2 Forest fans. I've got Des Oldham. You've already seen him in my, I think it was last review came. And as well, I've got a new guest for me. Another big Forest fan, Steve Curry. He does some articles regarding Forest as well. So I'll bring them in 2 minutes' time. But Forest, like I said, massive win. Lewis Grabban scoring the goal. I know Steve will get some hate from it today, for what he wrote. But end of the day, we won, and that's the most important thing. But yeah, people, how are you feeling today? Fantastic win. But yeah, like I said, if you're new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button. And if you've got any questions for Des and Steve, please ask put them in the comment section, and we'll ask them, and I'll get them both in now. Hello, lads.
How are you doing? Nice to be on, man.
So as well, below me, this is Steve Curry. Steve, introduce yourself.
My name's Steve Curry. I'm a kind of blogger, commentator for audio description for the blind and visually impaired at Forest. That's about all there is to it, really.
Yeah. People, before I get Steve, do not give him a stick, because we're going to talk about the Lewis Grabban article that we wrote. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was published yesterday. Yeah.
We'll talk about it later. Up next to me, this is Des Oldham. Introduce yourself.
I'm Des. I'm just a Forest fan. Don't write for anybody. All opinions on my own.
But as you know, fantastic win today against Preston and a bogey side. Steve, I'm going to start with you. What a win!
Yeah, it was a really good win, wasn't it? I mean, you alluded to it in the intro about the last time, and only from listening in the commentary earlier on, I picked up it was 2010, the last time we won at Deepdale. So tough place to go. Yeah, 2010 apparently, and apparently the commentator said, apparently the McGugan scored 2 that day.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, McGugan scored 2. Yeah, that was it. No, was it? No, it was FA Cup. What's the FA Cup?
I'm not sure. I'm just going off what the commentator said. I've not even Googled anything.
No, Steve, it's FA Cup. Remember,
that's the league game then.
Yeah. League game was the.
I think he was referring to the last league game we won there. Yeah.
God, the liars, man. I think it was who was it? Jamie Mackey and it was Darren Henderson.
Darren Henderson.
Yeah. I think it was. But yeah, carry on, Steve. Carry on.
No. Just like I say, to win there in the league, first time in a decade, it's a cracking result. And I don't think we played especially bad. We were kind of solid and resolute. They had some good chances. Obviously, hit the ball. We rode a luck a bit, but you're going to get that. And then Grabban the penalty. I still don't think he double touched it.
He didn't.
I've watched that 20 times now.
I've watched it for so many times. He did not double touch it. I think it was David Johnson, the Preston guy. He was moaning about it, and if you watch it closely, he didn't double touch it. So I ain't got a clue what he's on about. But who cares? We won. Des, who was your stand-up player for Forest today?
Well, I think Bryce Amber was probably the pick, wasn't he? The defence will, of course, played well. All you can ask for when you go away from home, really, is to keep a clean sheet. And if you do, everything's a bonus, isn't it? And whilst we're not playing fantastic, and they're still questioning the attacking element of the side, you've got to say that the defence played really well, didn't they? And of course, Samber's coming for a bit of stick as well. So to make some sort of pretty decent saves, nothing spectacular, but to keep the ball out of the net and get the 3 points in the end, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Steve, as you know, that I think we're 5 games unbeaten now. First win this year. I was about to tell you, like Christie, the day that Christie and Fegredo have had so much stick this season. How do you think them two play today?
You know what? They surprised me a bit because they have come in for some stick, and probably more so Figueiredo, a lad who played really well alongside Worrell last year. But I suppose, I suppose it puts it all into perspective for us because we all just watch, objectively as fans, or subjectively rather. And sometimes we question, what the management are all about and whatever. But Chris Hughton's, he's been down that road a few times, and it seems like he must have seen something. He must have watched the footage from last year of Worrell and Figueiredo and thought, I can sort this guy out. And for Christie as well, he's had a rocky start, hasn't he? But as Des said, it didn't look, too out of place today, the defence, and looked solid on the road. So, I was pleased for him more than anything because, as when players get the critics and everything, it's nice for them to answer in a way, as people will say about Grabban today. It's nice.
We'll mention that, Steve. Don't worry, we'll mention Grabban. Don't worry about it. You're getting away with that.
I think it's interesting what Steve says there about Houghton and experience, and the fact he's picking Figueiredo after all the flack he's taken this season. Because I think I said last time I was on, Ben, that if you get an experienced manager, Harry Redknapp's, Neil Warnock's, when they get brought into teams that are struggling, they always revert back to the players that did it. I think of teams like Tottenham when they've tried to tinker about, and they always go back to those tried and tested players. And I think anybody coming into Forest needed to remember what happened last year, and we wasn't actually a bad side. It did all blow up and it all went wrong, but there was a formula there that was working. So while form is temporary and all that, class is permanent. It's probably been worth sticking with Figueiredo and Worrell and Ribeiro. Of course, we've got no choice with the right back, but it's been worth it. And eventually, it seems it might just be paying off.
Steve, I'm going to mention Lewis Grabban. I'm not going to talk about the article yet. He scored a penalty for Forest. I think he scored a second goal this season now. How do you think he played today?
Do you know what I felt for him? Even though, excuse me, even after what I wrote about, his captaincy in that, his overall play, he was starved, wasn't he? I thought he was living off scraps, and there was times where he made good runs and just wasn't getting the ball. So I did feel for him. And like I say, kudos to him for keeping his, head on his shoulders and then bagging the penalty when he got it. But I couldn't really fault his play. You can't say he went missing because he just wasn't found. He was making the runs, and I remember there was one I forget, it might have been the first half. And he peeled off down the right wing, and Cyrus Christie was looking up to play it, and then just put it straight out of play, and I could see the disdain on his face. So, I've got no problem with his game today.
Des. Knockout's last game was meant to be his last game today. Do you think Forest should keep him for the rest of the season?
I'm a bit 50-50. If it's going to cost us in other areas, and it's going to cost us trying to get people in because of it, I guess he's expensive. I guess he costs quite a lot of money. Then potentially not. If money's not really an issue around it, because I think he's really useful. But again, I've said somewhere else that I think he's only got half a game in him. Do
you agree, Steve? Do you agree, Steve, with that?
You know what? To a degree, and also where we are on the table. I think if we were a bit more pleasing on the eye and pushing around the playoffs, maybe he might be sort of springing into life a bit. But I think this year we've written off the playoffs or any kind of promotion. It's about survival, I think, if we're all honest. And I think Des is right there. I think he flats to deceive a bit. So it will be a gamble.
I'm about to mention like Figueiredo's come in and he's been so well. Players like and Michael they've been dropped basically. What's your opinion on both them players, Des?
So who was the first one?
The centre back. So.
He did okay. I don't think obviously Houghton seems to like Figueiredo. I am a fan of Figueiredo myself, and I can see why he's putting back in for the reasons I said before. So it's a bit baffling that he's come with a bit of a reputation, and it seems he's cost a lot of money, and he's not seemed to be figuring around the first team. We've not seen that much of it. Now, I think the sort of clamour after the Millwall game was a little bit over the top. He had a good game. He did well. He set the goal up ultimately in a strange sort of way. But So I'm not sure on that one. My turn. I'd like to see him given a bit more of a go. I think young players need a bit sort of an arm and a shoulder, 4 or 5 games. If he's really going to set the world alight, give him that run. Nobody else is doing it in those positions. We've seen with Ollie, again, I'm a massive fan, but he's not quite doing it this year. Knockout's not consistent. You know what you're going to get from Myton he's skillful, he's quick, he's a bit of a battering ram at times as well, can move the ball from one part of the pitch to another, And I noticed listening to a bit about Derby, God forbid, last night, that's all they're doing now is getting the ball up the pitch away from the goal. And when we've been sort of making the mistakes we've been making, it's key, isn't it, to play in the right areas. And if we can get someone like Myton holding the ball for a bit longer, it gives everybody else time to adjust. So I think he just needs a bit of a go.
Steve, as you know, on social media, Ryan Yates has been given so much stick with Forest fans, and personally, I think he's been one of our best players so far this season, regardless of form. What's your opinion on Ryan Yates from today's game and so far?
Today, I thought he was great, and yeah, he does come in for a lot of flack because he's just got a sort of certain remit, and he just does what's on the tin, and he wins. Yeah. And he does just kind of play it backwards and forward. He can get box to box, as we saw when he kept burst on the scene, but yeah, I feel because you get the stigma of this label of being the beating boy, but yeah, he just fair play. He just keeps coming out, and again, managers keep picking him, so they're more.
That's what I say. The question, like, managers keep picking him, but fans are still moaning. Like, I know he was linked with, was it Millwall in December? Would you keep him in this transfer window?
Yeah, I would personally. I mean, there's competition for places, and I'm not a massive fan of having 2 holding midfielders. I prefer So if you're going to go for something, maybe if you're going to play slightly defense, I'd go 4-1-4-1, but or a 4-4-1-1 up front with two forwards. But digress. It's I just wonder in a 4-1-4-1, could he be the sole holding midfielder? I don't know, because it seems to be working all right with Sambasau, and again, it's one of them. It's one bad game, and then he's the villain again, I guess.
Yeah. Des, who was your standout player for today's? Who was your standout player for today's game?
Well, we touched on Bryce Samba before in the defence. Ryan Yates again, sort of playing well. I'm just thinking there on Steve's point about the 4-1-4-1. I think his best game this year was the Watford game at home. And I think somebody went off injured and he ended up kind of in that role almost on his own. And again, without having too much going forward, we had more of the possession in their half. We got a 0-0 out of the game. It wasn't a great game. But again, it didn't look so dangerous going the other way. I think sometimes when there's more than one in there, they almost get on top of each other. Yeah. The defence don't seem to be coherent with the midfield. It seems like the defence know their jobs, the one person, and then you've at least got options when the defence and the holding midfielder bring the ball out. On Ryan Yates, I just think he gets too much flack because he is a type of player. He's a good. I would keep him. I would keep him in the team, but I don't understand those who think he's a world beater either. He's not tearing it up by any stretch, and there is a couple of goals here and there, a couple of finishes, and make him a completely different player again. He's had a couple of headers sort of flash across the goal, and because that then offers value and importance to the team. And I think he really is important to the team, and he had a good game today. But I can understand why there is a bit of a sort of Marmite relationship with him.
Yeah. I'm going to mention it now. People in the comments, Steve Cream, he made about Lewis Grabban being captain of Nottingham Forest. He was captain today. Yes, he scored a goal. But Steve, talk about your article that you wrote about Grabban. And people in the comments, you can agree with Steve. It's Steve's opinion about it. But Steve, talk about your article that you wrote.
Well, it was good actually because we had some really good feedback for and against. So what I said. So basically, I was saying that he wasn't captain material, and what kind of personified it for me was that goal at Stoke. Now, Lewis, as people can well aware, and I've had a lot of messages from people who support other clubs, Millwall, Norwich especially, and a couple from Sunderland, alluding to his temperament. But he's not a leader of people for me. He's not. Yeah, and that's just my opinion. He's not a leader of people for me. And when you see a moment like that at Stoke, I mean, you need someone to be. So, yeah, fair enough. Someone did say, they reckon they might have heard a shout keepers, then they think it might be one of the Stoke players. Regardless, if that ball's coming in, you make a decision, you overrule it. I don't care if it's keepers. It's coming right at him, bang, out you go. It's not just that, because some people have taken what I've said in isolation. Say, you're just picking him. Overall, he's not a leader of people. When things aren't going Lewis's way, he can be a stroppy guy. Last year, his attitude was exemplary because he was just chasing scraps and doing everything and still banged in 20 goals. But, as I said at the end of the article, leadership is not like a tap. You can't turn it off and on. It's got to be perpetual like a waterfall. And for me, there are better leaders. There's not many in that Forest side. And I did mention maybe Worrell and McKenna, probably more so McKenna. Yeah. But they are guys who I think would inspire. And when the chips are down, would rally the troops. And I think when Lewis is in a bad place, everyone's in a bad place with him. So that's what I was alluding to. Day, fine, his goal and everything. And you know what? People, I've seen some little comments here and there. That's fine. And I was happier than anyone because first and foremost, I'm a Nottingham Forest fan. I want to see a Nottingham Forest player score a goal. There's no way I didn't want him to score.
Yeah, I think there's some people see trying to say like everyone's got their opinion on Lewis Grabban. I might mention to you or Des can say this this is my opinion, people. I think Lewis Grabban is a captain because, as you know, he almost left Forest, as people's aware. And I just personally think they gave him the armband to stay at Forest. What's your opinion? Do you feel the same about that, Steve? About giving an armband because of leaving Forest or not?
Who knows? I mean, that could be a reason. I've heard, and again, these are unsubstantiated. Yeah, I've heard some things about his time when O'Neill was in charge, in relation to his ankle injury, and also, well, I won't go into the rest of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I've heard some things about his demands behind the scenes, and that wouldn't surprise me if that was one of his sort of remits. Yeah.
You know what it is? I think, let's say, like you mentioned about his relationship with Sunderland, Millwall, and other teams as well. I just that Stoke game as well. It got me angry as well, to be fair. And I think what it is with people after the stream, I put Steve's article in the section. So after the stream, if you want to read Steve's article, you can. It is really interesting what he done. But just remember, people, it's his opinion. Don't throw negative comments. Well, you can throw negative comments. It's your opinion. If you don't,
it's fine.
It's fine. So, but people, if you want to read Steve's article, it is below, so you can read it. Des, do you agree with Steve's article about Grabban being captain of Nottingham Forest?
Absolutely. I actually commented on Steve's post when he shared it on social media, and I actually had a little bit of experience of it. I went to a game a couple of years ago. It was part of a sponsorship table, and we gave him man of the match. We got beat 2-1, and we was dreadful. It was Norwich on Boxing Day, I think. We got beat anyway, 2-1, and he scored the goal, and we gave him man of the match. And they sent Matt Cash out to do the interview, and everyone was furious in the room. Matt Cash was still really young. Matt Cash was still a real youngster, and everybody was like upset that he didn't front up. And like Steve says, the stuff at Millwall and Bournemouth and wherever, not Norwich, there's no smoke without fire, is there? People are either leaders or they're not. I think Steve said he had a bad experience of captain when he was young in his article, and I was a captain of only a Sunday side, but you do things, and that example on against Stoke was just says it all, doesn't it? Because when he did get Joe Worrell shouting and screaming at him like a captain, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and walked away. And I've been in teams where, whether you're right or wrong, sometimes you argue in the toss, and because you're passionate about what you do, and it just feels like that's not there sometimes, and it just feels, for as good as he is, and he's absolutely fantastic, and nobody could have done a better job up front for Forest in the last couple of years. It just feels sometimes his application is just not there. For me personally, and I know I'm going a little bit away from the subject. He plays off the back foot. His shoulders are down. I think he'd score 40 goals if he played off the front foot and he looked lively and he looked like he wanted to be there. Because he'd score when we 1-0 up and make it 2-0 rather than someone go up the other end and score. Because I think if he put some of the chances away by really sort of wanting to be there and loving football, we'd be in the Premier League probably.
Steve, like I said, with 5 games unbeaten now, transfer window is open. Question from Steve. As you know, players be coming and going. What players do you think that we need to build on for the rest of the season?
Do you know what? That's the $1 million question. And it's funny because some of them signings we brought in the summer, I thought would really make a difference. Your Harry Arters and that. And
it's got a big disappointment, to be fair.
Yeah, and obviously Colback coming back has been a disappointment to me personally. I don't think he's hit the heights that he should have. So, do you know what? I'm kind of a bit crystal ball with it because there are players out there. I know there's a young guy at Portsmouth whose name escapes me, but I'm really not sure because Forest have got a habit of turning good players and prospects into nightmares. We get Grant Holt, we stick him on the wing. So exactly. I'm kind of devoid of idea. You're probably asking the wrong man. I'd go to Des on this one.
Yeah.
On that, Steve, I saw a tweet last night. Somebody was watching the Man U Villa game and said if we'd signed John McGinn, he'd be playing for Cambridge on loan now.
Oh, I've seen that as well. It's true. Like we could bring in, I don't know, someone good, and he goes out on loan to someone stupid. I don't know. Like how many players did we bring in? Was it 14 players that we brought in? And Steve, I'll ask you a question. Who do you think has been a standout signing so far then, out of 14 players?
For me, without doubt, Scott McKenna.
I agree.
How many games he played?
He's not played many, up until the injury. But I think the beauty with McKenna was that you almost didn't notice him in a game because he was doing the right things. We tend now, because Forest have got so bad, to be watching all the players doing the wrong. And for a guy to just come in, I do this, I head the ball, I give it, and you're like, I've just kind of not noticed him. He's gone under the radar for the whole game, and I think that's a sign of a good player at Forest these days. Sadly, we look at it that way.
Well, in that period, Steve, when he was in the team, all the players around him was making mistakes. I remember Ribeiro heading one back across the goal, Figueiredo kicking it up in the air. Christie has not been great. And so he really, really stood out as the one who was just the one consistent back there. And I totally agree that he is the best signing we've made.
Good question. I don't know if you lot have seen it. Like I said, you mentioned Scott McKenna. It's been a fantastic signing. I know there's been gossip, like I said, there's gossip about Joe Worrell been linked with Burnley. Do you think that's a right move for him if he does go to Burnley and Scott McKenna could replace him?
He seems to be linked with Burnley every transfer window.
Every transfer window, yeah.
I don't know Joe. He lives in the next village to me, but I don't know him. But I get the feeling that he'd like to play for. Maybe I'm blinded by sentiment, but he gives off the impression that he likes playing for Forest. But I know what you're saying is it's a career move, and is it time to, because Forest have had so many failings, is it time to put that behind him? To put it this way, I'm not sure if he did, but you know what? I wouldn't blame him. The particular.
Burnley been took over as well, so that would be another. So me personally, players like I don't know Joe Worrell and Ryan Yates, for me, they've been the best players so far this season, and it's always like I said, it's always the academy players. I put up my vlog yesterday. It's always the academy players always getting the hate from our fans. And personally, I want Worrell to stay, but you can't blame him as well for going to a Premiership team as well. Des, what do you think about Joe Worrell? Do you think he'll stay with Forest, or do you think it'll be time to go?
I'm not sure, because I really get the feeling that McKenna was brought to replace Worrell. I don't know. I've got no idea. And I hopefully he hasn't, and they can play together in the team, because then Worrell plays his natural position as well. But it's that thing, isn't it? It's the law of the Premier League, and whilst he is a Forest fan and he's always said he wanted to stay, Sean Dyche has been a bit persistent. He wants him, he likes him, and if somebody keeps showing that interest, keeps coming back and saying, do you want to come? And the only reason he's not going to Burnley is because he loves Forest. It's not because he doesn't want to play for Burnley or play in the Premier League, I'd guess. It's because he loves Forest. He proved that when he went to Rangers. They're a massive club, and I think they'd have taken him. And he said that his only option was to come back to Forest. So I don't think he's going to be banging the door down for a move. But if like Matt Cash, the club accept an offer, and it's Dyche who keeps coming back asking for him, he obviously sees something in him. Probably sees something of himself in him.
Yeah.
He was young coming through Forest, and he might. Again, I'd imagine Dyche is the player as a whole and sees that loyalty and somebody to stand up, like the interviews on the radio and things like that. And he wants that strong character. And I would say if he did go to Burnley, I could imagine he'd be captain within half a season.
As well, he will. Question from Vitus Walker. It's about Cafu started as a merge. As you know, we always get his cast off from Olympiacos, but Cafu has been the best player from Olympiacos. What do you think of Cafu so far, Steve?
Yeah, he's been surprisingly good. I didn't know much about him, and then when he came in, and I know he's playing that number 10 role, or the you crazy FIFA kids call it the cam. It's he's probably no better or no worse than what's been in there before, but he's ticking the boxes. He's not exceptional, but he's not dross. So I think he's been a quite a pleasant surprise without excelling. That's just my take on it.
What do you think, Des?
Exactly the same again. He moves the ball well. He moves quite well himself. He's quite fluent, but I think the pace of the game suits him. And we're not exactly attacking teams at 100 miles an hour. And I wonder, in a couple of games he has gone missing. I wonder if we was a better team, perhaps last season's team. With Thiago in there and Lolly on full steam, would he be in the right areas? But can't fault him for what he's done. He's come in. He looks better when he plays further forward. He seems to make something happen. Because there was a point where he played that first game, I think that was Watford as well, and then he dropped back. For about 3 or 4 games, he seemed to get deeper and deeper. And then once he went forward again, he seems to have an impact in the area. He set up a couple of goals. He won the penalty today, and that's all you can really ask for, isn't it? When you're really struggling and you're feeding off scraps, you just want those assists, those chipping in with a goal here and there, and winning penalties and such things, free kicks, and I think he does that in this kind of team. So he's been more than useful. Of course, we haven't seen some of the others. So
yeah. Question from Marcus. I don't know who we've got this. A good little unbeaten run, which will be give the boys confidence. FA Cup game against Millwall next week. What's your take on FA Cup? Do you think we need an FA Cup run or just focus on the league, Steve?
Do you know, normally I'm going to go against what I said here, and I'm usually a man of my word. I'm going to U-turn on this. I've always said, stick with your side and play the same side throughout the cup competitions and just give them all your best.
Yeah.
But given the predicament we're in, I think it would probably be a good time to bet a few people in, and especially get Mighton 90 minutes and others allow maybe whoever back into the side. But yeah, I'm going to go against my ethos there and try them.
What about you, Des?
I tend to agree with Steve's initially for us. Whilst we find this little bit of form, we've stopped conceding the goals. That's the big thing. I look back and we've only conceded 1 since the Brentford game. And I think in 8 out of 10 before that we conceded 2 or more. So I think just get that defence sorted. Of course, there's still a question mark around the right back. Perhaps try somebody there. One of the others. Perhaps put Mighton in because it looks like Knockout won't play whatever the situation is, because he's unlikely to be cup tied, and even just put Taylor in. And I guess I'm going away from what I initially said there, but maybe because Chris Hughton said it himself in the past, he's going to try 4-4-2 again at some point. You know,
it didn't work against Derby, did it? Though that's the thing.
For him,
it didn't work against Derby. That's the problem.
Yeah, but he did say after that game he will try it again. So if he is going to try it at some point, why not? It depends how seriously they want to take the cup, isn't it? You know, and I'd normally be like, get your best team out. Let's have a bit of a cup run, because we never have a cup run. We never have all this excitement. But because a little bit selfishly, because we're not there in COVID, what does the cup run really matter if we're not going to win it?
Yeah. Question from Luke. Can we have Corey's prediction? What do you mean prediction?
Right. What Luke means there is I'm especially bad at making predictions. So on the Forever Forest podcast, or when I've been on with Luke, he always gets me to make an outlandish prediction. So I'm going to go for it then, Luke. Yeah, I'm going to say. What are we saying?
What league table? League finish?
No, I'm not going to be that bold.
Come on, go for it, Steve. Go on.
I'll just do one game at a time. I'm going to say that we're going to stick a team of unknowns out and beat Cardiff 2-0. That's as crazy as I can get for you.
Lee, did you watch the game against Millwall? Not against Cardiff in the league.
Yeah.
How shocking was we?
Yeah, it's funny. We always seem to. Well, yeah, they're like a bogey side, aren't they?
The bogey side, I think last season we lost. Was it 1-0? This season we lost 2-0. And people in the comment section, well, you buy the FA Cup. I'm not, because we're not going to the games. I'm more focused on the league. I'm not going to give a prediction. I'm not going to do it. I'll be like you, Steve. I'll be like you. I'm not going to do it. What are you, Des? Are you probably by the FA Cup? What's your prediction? No, what's your prediction, Des? Do you think?
What, for next week?
Yeah.
It depends, doesn't it? You can't predict it, but it's going to be 1-0 either side, isn't it? You know, that seems to be the way it is these days. It's going to be 1-0. If we score first, we'll win. If we concede first, we'll probably get beat. You know, and we'll nick it if we put out a strong side.
Question, I think, like with Steve, Houghton came in, and like I said, there's always going to be pressure on whoever the Forest manager is. Do you think he'll get his chance of building the squad this January and the summer?
You never know with Forest, do you? I mean, because that stat of like 71 odd players in 3 seasons, if the club can learn from the mistakes with the recruitment, because they have made mistakes.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if they can make that situation better for him, then I'm sure he will, because his reputation speaks for itself. The thing I liked about it was that he's done something with 2 different, earned promotion with 2 different clubs at different ends of the country with different fan demographics. Your likes of Brighton and your Newcastle.
Yeah.
So
he got Birmingham. Did he get Birmingham in the playoffs?
I'm not actually sure, but possibly.
He did. He got Birmingham in the playoffs, but he didn't go up.
Yeah.
There,
so I think, give him the right sort of players, and he'll do it. But it's whether we can give him the right players, or whether we're still, like you say, some cast-offs from Olympiacos. And if we've got to break away from that trend, because we've managed to recruit, in my eyes, a good manager, and I think he deserves that. And some of the criticism's been a bit unfair because he's come into a mess. But
exactly.
I think like COVID, it can only get better.
Exactly. What's your opinion on Houghton, Des? Do you think he should get the time to build a squad? Like with managers, you don't, like with Forest, you don't get time to get built. But do you think he'll get the time for Forest?
Somebody's got to be given the time, Ben. And I wasn't massively against Lamucci at the end. I know it was going wrong, and it looked like it needed that change. Somebody's got to be given the time, haven't they? And when you talk about the transfer window, I don't think they need to sign anyone in particular. They need to keep this consistency going, I believe. And I will make a bit of a prediction. I think they'll finish around 15th, 16th.
I'll take that.
We'll all take it. And if that's what Houghton could do by shifting a few players out, the ones that he obviously doesn't want because he didn't pick them. He's probably only actually picked one player, and that's Knockout, and it's not. He's not set the world on fire. So what are we really judging him on? You know, we're judging him on perhaps Lamucci signings, perhaps interference signings. You know, he's got to have his own players, and if he does get 3 or 4 in January, if they do give him that option, then if we go down, for example, he perhaps deserves the sack. You know, if he keeps them up and he gets us up into 15th, 16th, 15th, 14th, and he's put them 3 or 4 players in, and we're safe in sort of Easter, you know, and we know we're not going to go down, we're all going to be happy and give him another shot, aren't we? Because we all feel that we need to give a manager a go, because it just doesn't work. 71 players, and that's because it's not because we keep signing players, it's because we keep sacking managers. You know,
that's good.
His own players, and he brings them in, and then you've got recruitment bringing half of them in, and a manager bringing half of them in. We don't keep sacking managers. We don't keep bringing new players.
That's a good point, and especially what you're saying there. I mean, it might actually do the club a favour if he was to do what you said there, Des, and if he was to turn around to him and say, you know what, I've got enough at my disposal. Looking at the fans, we're all looking at it now and thinking, well, we're not going to go up. And if we stay up, like we've all said, 15th, whatever, we'd be happy. So if he says to the board, you know what, I'll consolidate. Don't worry about January. Stop this influx of players. Let's work with what we've got. Clear a few heads, see if we can improve a few, and then reassess. I think you are bang on the money there, because then when he gets to the summer, if he's still there in the summer, everyone's got a better understanding of each other, and you've got some more consistent sort of guidelines to go down. So I think that you might be on something then.
Another question, and this is another topic that's been going up and down. Brennan Johnson has been playing fantastic for Lincoln, and as you know, lads, we had Tyler Walker. He had a fantastic season. Tyler Walker. He had a fantastic season with Lincoln. Come back, didn't get a game. Should we bring him back, Steve? Personally, I don't think he should. Leave him at Lincoln, let him progress there, and then come back in the summer. Do you think he should come back this window? Yes or no?
I agree with what you just said there, Ben. Just let him have a season of getting kicked in League One, because he's a cracking player. And let him have that experience in there, and he'll come back a far better man for it. Yeah, I fully agree with you.
What do you think, Des?
I totally agree with you both. Again, you know, I think bringing a player like that back, like I said, throw Might at him maybe, but he's a bit more sort of. He's a bit more raw. I'd put with Brennan Johnson. He's a bit more of a footballer, and like Steve says, he'll get kicked about a bit and get used to that. But that'll work on his physical strength and get him prepared for potentially a relegation battle. Do you know, we want to throw him back in this situation where it's about mental toughness as well, isn't it? He's playing in a team that's absolutely flying. He's getting opportunities to score goals every week. I think he scored 4 in the last couple of games. So let him fly off that confidence. It's like what we said about bringing players in, isn't it? They can end up at Cambridge on loan before you know it. You know, so why potentially bring him into this sort of, well, potentially toxic and rubbish situation when it could...
Exactly, yeah. I think the way Johnson plays, like he's freedom. He plays for freedom, and with Lincoln, he's playing with freedom. He's doing what he does best. And coming to Forest, he's not going to do it. He'll play like 10 minutes there and there. So, personally, I think Johnson should stay. There's quite a lot of comments about Johnson as well. He should stay up Lincoln.
The thing is, Ben, the more he gets kicked at Lincoln, if he's scoring goals, and I'm not questioning his temperament because I don't know him well enough and we've not seen him enough, but the more he gets kicked, if he's scoring goals, he doesn't care. It builds him up as a footballer, it makes him tougher and more prepared for sort of coming up against bigger, better defenders. Do you know, if he comes back to Forest and he's feeding off scraps and people are getting knocked about, you know, it becomes a difficult environment. And with all the best will in the world, you want players to thrive and do well, but it's tough sometimes, you know. And like we said about the environment, it could just sort of knock him off his pedestal a little bit.
Yeah, and if you look back a couple of seasons ago, you know, Dagenham and Redbridge, you had Matty Cash there, you had Joe Worrell there. Yeah. So it's a good little. It's always better to be playing league football than either rotting on the bench or being thrown back into the 23s. As technical as the 23s is, you've not got that competitiveness. You've not got those elbows flying in, and it's a school of hard knocks. So yeah, just what you're saying there, really.
Like you just said, Steve, that I've got send his players on loan. I think how many players have Forest got on loan? We've got Tyrese Fram, he's at Plymouth. Who else is there? Who's the right back at Forest Green?
Richardson.
Richardson.
Yeah.
Who's at Scunthorpe? Someone's at Scunthorpe as well. There's quite a lot of players that are on loan, to be fair. But leave Johnson up. Just turn your phone off, Brennan. Just turn it off. You don't want that Forest. Last question. Like I said, 5 games unbeaten. Like I said, fantastic win against Preston today. Like I said, forget the Cardiff game. Who's our next league game? I don't know our next league game now.
Millwall, isn't it?
Millwall. Bloody hell.
Millwall, yeah.
Don't mention Millwall. We lost. Don't mention Millwall.
Ironically, that was the last game we were all in the stadium.
I know, that's right. Don't mention it, Steve, because you know what happened last time when I had that picture. Can Forest, like I said, I think we'll finish 15, but can Houghton, like this relegation dogfight is like it's mad, but can he save Forest from relegation?
For me, in a word, yes. So yeah.
Des.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the next few games are really important. You know, if we could just stretch this on 1 or 2 more games, then January they've got options. Whereas if they lose the next couple, they're back in the bottom 3, for example. Then they're starting. You know what it's like, panic signings, or we've got to do this, that, and the other, and all the tension sets in. So I think if we can just string another couple of results together, perhaps 4 points out the next 2, next 3, even. You know, there's teams in free fall, Birmingham and QPR. You know, seem to be getting sucked into it. So I think it would all look a lot better, and it gives them options rather than sort of panicked options.
I forgot about Jordan Gabriel as well. He's out on loan as well. Bloody hell!
Yeah, Jordan Gabriel, good player, right back. Yeah, very good player.
Was you surprised? Like I know, like we've got about 100 right backs. Was you surprised that he started 2 games? He started the first 2. Was it 2 games for Forest? Then 6 months on loan. Like
yeah, I was gobsmacked at that because I thought they were going to do what they did with Cash last year. Just say right, youngster. You know, and that's his actual position anyway. So personally, I'd have probably let him. Hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? You know, but I would have gambled on him because I watched him play in the youth setup, and I watched him play from like the 18s up, and he was outstanding. And I was so pleased in the first team.
I saw Forrest standing from South End. I sure we did. Standing from South End.
That's right. He was 14 when he came to Forest.
Yeah, I've been speaking to a few Blackpool fans as well, and he said, "How did Forest just got rid of him to on loan because he's a good player?"
Yeah.
We've got Jenkins, we've got Woodcourt. Do you think he's good enough to be in the Forest team for next season?
Jenkinson,
they've got Richardson on loan as well. Got all these right backs, and it's going to be difficult. Like as you know, Matt Rackett, he wants to get promoted, and like I said, we have Mike Cash, Ryan Yates, Joe Worrell. Let these young players get in the first team. Do you think it's worth it? Like giving these players a chance?
Go with Des.
Definitely, because I'm not a massive fan of Christie, to be honest. You know, he's okay going forward, and I've got a big sort of bugbear with the modern game that they sign players on sort of promotions and CVs and things like this. Christie doesn't suit the Forest team. He's good in an attacking team. You know, because he can put a ball in, he can cross the ball, but the defensive side is not really there. So for me, one of those youngsters, one of those half a dozen you've mentioned, you know, just put them in, especially if we get towards the end of this season maybe and we are safe. You know, 6 or 7 games maybe. You know, it might be the time to put one of even Mighton again. You know, stick those players in for the last 6 or 7 games. You know, and give them that real experience, like Steve says. Playing football in the first team is completely different to playing for reserves and under 23s and things like that.
Right, last question for both of you, and I know Steve, you don't dodge this question, Steve. Where do you think Forest will finish this season? On the with 5 games unbeaten, where do you think? Forest?
I pretty much.
Where do you think? Like, let me ask a question. Let's start with where do you think Forest will finish?
Oh, when we started,
Yeah.
like the optimist that I am, I said the B playoffs, because I looked at the Harry Arters coming in, I looked at Luke Freeman's, and on paper I thought, and the reason I said it was because I thought if we got to the cusp of the playoff last year with a lesser side on paper, I thought, well, with these additions we'll do it, and it doesn't always work like that, and I was well wrong. So I think I went for 6, something like that.
I said the same. I said 6. Where do you think Forest will finish then? On the way it is as well. People in the comments. Where do you think Forest will finish? Where do you think Forest will finish this season then?
So I'm going to agree with what you boys said earlier on. I think we'll steady the ship and we'll sort of flirt, have a good run, then dip off. But the final answer, Chris Tarrant, is 15.
Chris Tarrant. You got the same colour hair as well, Steve. Daz, where do you think Forest will finish? You said 15. You said 15th.
Yeah, 15. We all seem to be in agreement with that, don't we? And perhaps we're overly optimistic, but I really do think they've got enough. They've shown enough in the Stoke game, the second half. And today, they've not been fantastic, but that's how you play away from home and pick up points, isn't it? So you don't have to play anyway. You just need to get the points away from home in the Championship. And if we keep finding those points, 1 and 2 points, beating the teams we should, then I'm sure we'll just about get there in the end.
But before you do go, I mentioned Steve. He writes articles about Forest. Steve, talk about your articles before you do leave.
Oh, thanks a lot. So basically, I write for Nottingham Sport. It's at Sport Nottingham. I think it's Nottingham.
It's in below, people. So if you do want to follow,
okay, brilliant. And there's a fantastic guy called Danny Peacock who started this new website up. So basically, I write Forest-related articles for that. I've not done as many as I used to because obviously,
slacking.
No, it's because of the hate mail. I just can't read all the hate mail.
Steve, you're a journalist. You should get all this. Look at Daniel Taylor. He's had all the hate mail. So,
I know. Yeah. Well, you've had your fair share, haven't you, as well? I mean, it's just you know what I mean. But it's no. Thanks a lot. Just have a look. And the thing is with what I will say, and what I did say even in the Grabban article, which was great, because any of the feedback, I welcome when people don't agree, because it should be a debate, should be a democracy, not a dictatorship.
This is why I got people like you and Des. This is my chance about people having an opinion and debate. And if people don't disagree with you, just let it happen. Yeah. Because, like I said, exactly. People disagree with me all the time, and I don't like fighting. So.
I always say, as long as if the responses are based on what content I've produced, what I've written, as long as they're not racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever, if they're based on the article, it means that someone's taken the time to read it. So fair play to them. And if they say, no, this is drop, fine. That's great. As long as we're engaging the fans, and not enraging them. That's what I'm saying. So,
you know what social media like? They're always enraged at anything. So. But people, if you do Steve's on Twitter as well, he always puts his articles on there as well. So go give Steve a follow. Des, as well, talk about your YouTube channel before we do go.
Yeah, so after my first love being Forest, when I was a bit older, I got into sort of running, exercise, and well-being. So I started a YouTube channel last year. I was not long after this time last year, where I just want to sort of. It coincided with COVID, but I wanted to try and help people just understand that it's okay not to be okay, kind of thing. Just I talk every day, 6 o'clock. It's on for about 10, 15 minutes, just about my day. So a lot of the time it's probably rubbish. It's just stuff that I'm going through. I'll say when I'm having a bad day, when I'm having a good day. Mainly bad days.
But everyone.
It's just an experience with it, and it's just to try and be honest and relatable to let people know that that others are feeling the same. Somebody just normal that's all I am. I'm just talking. You know, I've got no sort of backing, like yourself, Ben. You know, you just do it because you love doing it. You know, and I want to talk about my passion, and that's what it is. And I encourage people to get into activity, but it's not just about activity. You know, that's work for me. It's just to sort of encourage people to find what works for you. It's not full on. It's not preachy. Like I say, I'll tell everybody when I make mistakes. You know, when I get it right, and I stumble over my words. I say the wrong thing. I give out the wrong advice.
I do it.
It's called Do Daily at Do Daily.
It's a link. People, if you want to subscribe, his link is below. So please go and subscribe to him. It's just different content to everyone else. So please do give Des a subscribe. The link is in below. Quick question, Steve. I forgot to ask you. Like I've always asked Des 2 weeks ago. Do you miss going to City Ground and doing work for him, like working your usual stuff you do?
Yeah, that's what I miss most of all, doing the commentary.
Yeah,
and I miss that. Oh, honestly, I can't tell you how much I miss it. It's one thing going and watching, you know, as a fan, but when we provide the commentary, because I know that even if we've only got 2-3 listeners, it's making a world of difference. It sounds cheesy, but it's not. Honestly, I absolutely love doing the AD commentary, and we do it for obviously Alan March Sports, and I cannot wait to get back in and get back on the mic. So I just love it. I love it, and I know the listeners enjoy it as well. So
that's why I mentioned it, because like I said, I know it's what's the other lad's name? I forgot his name now.
Elliot Stockdale, no?
That's Elliot. You do some few things. I remember I watched one of his YouTube clips, and I saw, what game was it? Leeds. The Leeds game, and YouTube was going mad. I never seen
Elliot's quite animated. I've
never seen Elliot. I thought I was going mad. Elliot?
He's I'm the cooler, calmer, older head, and Elliot's the raging bull.
Right, there's 30 people in. Is there any questions for Steve or Des before we go?
I just said on that last one, Ben, missing football. Christmas, it was awful, wasn't it? Boxing Day, I like to go out for a run. I've just created this pre-match run in my head. I don't have to go before the game, but just to kind of fill that time, I go out for a run, and I'll run past the City Ground on Boxing Day because I live across the road, and I take a picture, and it really dawned on me how much I was missing it on Boxing Day.
I walk for a walk. I don't care. Like I go for a walk at 12 o'clock. I just go for a walk near the ground. Like I live 2 minutes from the ground, so I think that's the best thing about it. Just sit around there, me. I go for a silly walk. And
Christmas has been a really tough one with that, hasn't it?
It hits home. This
is why I do this. I can interact with people like you lot and just take because I think was it I always take the mick out of Matthew. Do you know Matthew from Feather Forest?
Oh.
Yeah,
not Matthew Wilkinson, no.
Yeah, that's it. I always take the piss out of him all the time, and I've got no one to take the piss out this time. But yeah, Steve and Des, I think thank you very much for taking your time. We've been out for so long. Wait, there's a question. Questions from Steve. What is your player of the decade? Give me that. I'll give that to Steve.
Player of the decade. Wow, geez,
that's a question.
That is. If we had a player that's played more than this season, can we put Reedy in there? I'll go for Reedy. Yeah.
I'm going for
jumping at the bit there. What?
Michael Antonio.
Oh no, there's been more. He's been good, but I think
Antonio was the best player we had in that decade by a mile.
More than that, I personally think it was. Who can I mention? Lewis McGugan in Billy Davis' second spell.
Okay.
I don't know. That's my opinion, people. I don't know what's everyone else's opinion. But
so we've gone with 3 completely different here. It's good. I like it.
I think that season when he scored that stunning goal against Ipswich. That's How many goals? How many goals did he score? I don't know how many goals he scored. I think he scored so many. But Steve says Andy Reid. Des says Antonio. I say Lewis McGugan, but there might be one or two players that have been up there. But yeah, Steve and Des, I do appreciate that you've come on for my channel. I'd love to have you on again as well. I'd love to have you back on again if that's okay with you lot, for you two.
Definitely. Thank you.
Well, Steve and Des, thank you very much for coming on. I'm on for like 5 minutes, but yeah, fantastic win for Forest. But Stephen, Des, but like I said, people, link below. Go and read Steve's article about Lewis Gugan, and if you want to give him so much hate, give him hate, because I get too much hate. So give all the hate to Steve, and make sure you do subscribe to Des as well. Like I said, it's a fantastic YouTube channel. But like I said, thank you very much for coming on the channel.
Cheers, Ben. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Steve. Cheers, Steve. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Cheers, Des. Cheers, Steve. Right, but thank you very much for you two. Fantastic result for Nottingham Forest. But yeah, I've enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. How long have we been on? 56 minutes? Oh dear. But yeah, I'm so tired. But people, thank you very much for coming on for all your questions as well. But I'm gonna let everyone go. But like I said, it's been a fantastic result against Preston. I think we've moved to 19th as well. But like I said, people, thank you very much for coming on the channel. Like I said, if you want to read Steve's article, the link is below. Give all the hate to him as much as you can, and as well go on Des' channel as well. The link is below. But like I said, people, I'll be back. I think that I've got a vlog out tomorrow regarding transfers coming in, transfers going out. I might do one or two things as well. But yeah, I think like I said, I've got Millwall in the FA Cup, so I might do a preview for that. But yeah, people, thank you very much for coming on my stream, asking the fantastic questions, and hopefully I'll see you lot soon for the Millwall game up the Forest.